What's up, YouTube? Very, very exciting time here. We have our Zendikar Rising full set review. I'm Ethan Sachs. I'm joined by Alex Nikolic from the Limited Level Ups podcast, aka Corticals. We are here doing all things Zendikar on Stream Live and also recording for YouTube, which is where you're finding this recording. We're going to be going in Goober order. We're going to try and get green right this time. And within each of those, we're going to be doing commons, then uncommons, then rares. And within each of those, we are going to be doing cards sorted by CMC. So that brings us to our first card here in Reclaim the Wastes. Single green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. If it was kicked, kicker cost of 3. You search for 2 basic land cards instead of 1.
Solid. We got a Lay of the Land style card. We like these, do we not?
Yeah, I think these are... Well, in a set with Landfall and Kicker, I think we like these.
Yeah.
Yeah, like... The last time I think this effect was really good was Open the Gates in Ravnica Allegiance. I think the fact that then you get to sort of get a 2-for-1, even though it's lands, but this, again, with Kicker and Landfall, I do think getting lands is going to feel more valuable here than in other sets.
Right, and this also just opens up the possibility of, like, you know, it opens up the ability for 3 to 4 color base green decks to exist, if that's a thing, right? Like, my hypothesis is that the Kicker decks are most likely going to want to be 3, maybe 4 colors sometimes. There could potentially exist a 4 to 5 color party deck as well. So that opens up all the opportunities to do that. And, like, even in your Landfall deck, you might just play this to, getting 2 lands might just be worth 2 Landfall triggers at some point. So I think I like this card more than most Lay of the Land style effects.
All right, put your grades where your mouth is. What do you give it?
I think I'm just gonna give it a C. I think you know what? I might want to go C plus on this. I can see this being.
You got to give it that's got to be like Synergy C plus.
Yeah,
right?
Synergy C plus. But I can see this being better than these effects usually are, because it fills multiple roles of like being good in basically all of the 3 big archetypes. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Synergy C. I think that's fair. I don't think you're just jamming this in like your green red stompy deck, but when you want this effect, I think it's gonna be quite good.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, what's next?
All right, next up we have Strength of Solidarity. So this is a single green for a sorcery. It says choose target creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature in your party. So should we take this opportunity to talk about party a little bit?
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that party is set up in this set, it is divided kind of strangely, right? Each color gets a main class. White gets clerics, black gets rogues, white gets warriors. White is clerics, and then black is rogues, warriors is red, and wizards is blue. That's it. And then like for every color, they get like primary, secondary, tertiary, right? So take white for example. White is clerics as the primary, but it also has some warriors and then like 1 wizard or something.
Right.
What this means when you put all the color combinations together is that blue and white have access to the most of the classes. So, you'll get an even spread of clerics, rogues, wizards, and warriors. And like some of the other color pairs more lean to clerics or more lean to rogues, more lean to warriors. The one weird part about this is that green doesn't play such a strong role in anything. It's kind of like the tertiary in everything, right? It's kind of just sprinkled here and there. All of the creature types are sprinkled here and there in green. So what do we think about a green party card? That's, I don't know, kind of left to be seen, I think.
Well, I mean, even if this were, I mean, this is going to be single green sorcery speed. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature on average, I would say, or maybe not on average. I don't know.
Right.
This card is bad. Like, this is perhaps not the best time to talk about party in the sense that this card is not a party at all.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine some like, green red or green white Landfall deck that happens to have these creature types, but I don't think that's going to happen that often, right? Like, you want this in your aggressive decks. Don't think a green aggressive deck is going to come together all that often that has these party synergies. I think maybe we play this once in a while because you have enough like +1/+1 synergies in your deck that you're like, all right, I actually just want to put +1/+1 counters on my creatures because the synergies are there.
Sure.
But I think it's like I'm gonna give it D- for now.
Yeah, I think so. Just can't quite give it an F. but
Yeah, I think so.
Tajuru Blightblade is next. Single green for a 1/1 elf rogue with Death Touch. Me likey.
Yeah, you likey. I not so likey, but
Why?
I'm not a huge fan of these cards. I think they're just too low impact these days. They're fine.
So what does that mean? Too low impact these days?
I just think that you should be banning more from your cards, basically. Like, this is a fine defensive speed card, but like, I don't know how. Even still, like, it just trades for something, and a lot of times it gets knocked out of the way by even the smallest of ping effects, right? Dies to a sneak.
Right. So yeah, I do think this is a good opportunity to talk about. I'm a little wary of X1s in general in this format because of there's a black trick. Put a +1/+1 counter and give a creature -1/-1 until end of turn. There's a mini sweeper at uncommon. There's a red uncommon that pings as part of the like blue-red cares about spells and wizards category. So it's quite possible that X1s get too punished here. But generally something like Typhoid Rats like this is, and this has, I'm going to say this a lot during these reviews, but Typhoid Rats with good types, as this is a rogue,
Great.
I think is going to be a solid C is my guess.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how often green rogue is going to matter is the thing. Like, if that base green 5 to 4 color party deck is a thing.
There's that. Is there that? But then it's also hard for me to imagine you pairing green with any other color that doesn't at least have something that cares about party.
Right? Like
you're playing green white, and then you have the angel, and then you're like, cool, I gained 4 now. Like I just think that's gonna come up.
I guess my worry is that there's not enough crossover between the decks that want a 1/1 defensive speed creature and party matter stuff, maybe. Right? I think the intersection there is very small, but it could have a spot, right? I don't think this is going to make your deck that often. I'm giving this like a C-.
Okay, that's fair.
All right. Next up, we have Adventure Awaits. This is 1 and a green for a sorcery. So this is look at the top 5 of cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card into your hand this way, you draw a card.
Well,
right.
This is fine. I just like, I don't generally like these cards. Like Adventurous Impulse, I don't like. I guess I did like Track Down, but that felt a lot different than this does. I'm not a big fan of this card.
Right. So, I mean, this thing has a few things going for it, right? Like, it helps you find different members of your party. And obviously,
I mean, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it gets them.
Yeah.
It gets them, right? I'm still not a huge fan of this card. 5 is a decent amount. If you do have, like, some A-level card in your deck, I'm slightly more inclined to play this card. But overall, it's just that 24th, 25th card that almost never gets played,
You play this card when you have a bomb to dig for, right? Like, that's when I'm starting to go, oh, maybe I should run this. But I'm going to start off at, like, I don't know, D.
Right, and I think especially because, like, none of the party payoffs that I don't think, at least maybe some of the rare ones, but most of them aren't like, oh man, you get your party together, like, you're doing it. It's like, all right, yeah, that's pretty good, but it's not like you need to get that party together. You'd like it, but it's not some insane effect. So yeah, I agree with D on this one.
All right, next up is Dauntless Survivor, 1 and a green for a 1/1 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I really like this card.
Yeah, I like this style of card. It's totally serviceable. One of the things that so green black has like the +1/+1 counters sub theme or theme, and when I first saw the set being spoiled, I was like, all right, this seems like something that's just thrown in. But when I searched +1/+1 counters on Scryfall before this, it actually seems like one of the more supported themes. Like
it's quite prevalent, yeah,
and I was surprised. There's a we'll see this when we get to the artifacts, but there's a 2/3 flyer with defender that if it has a counter on it, it loses defender, and that's like pretty nice curve going 3 into this into another 2 or something. Like, just getting a counter on that, I think is pretty important. There's a bunch of other things, like just there's a lot of payoffs from counters basically.
And this is another card that makes X1s look real bad because, like,
yeah,
if this puts a counter on something else and then it can trade with something or hold off something, that's pretty big game. So
also, warrior.
Yeah,
warrior matters.
Good types, baby.
Good types. Yeah, exactly.
Solid C here for me for Dauntless Survivor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing I do want to note too is I think we talked about each color gets primary, secondary, tertiary for the classes. I
Uh-huh.
think it's important to note that this is the one green warrior, I believe.
Oh, okay. Good
Yeah.
to know. Other than like, whatever, they're the weird uncommon that counts as like all four.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up we have a gnarly colony. So this is 1 and a green for a 2/2. It's a beast. It has kicker for 2 and a green. It says if gnarled colony was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Like,
Yeah, this is fine. It's okay.
I am less excited about this than the Dauntless Survivor, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, one of the cool things is that this is a nice intersection between multiple archetypes, right? Between like kicker and the +1/+1 counter kind of stuff. It's a relatively cheap kicker cost. So if you want to trigger your kicker matter cards, like that's pretty nice. There's things that reduce. So I think only one card, but there's a card that reduces the cost of your kicker cards. So getting this for 4 mana is nice. So I think this one like not a high pick or anything, but it is nice that it intersects with a lot of the set's themes. So I'm willing to give this just like solid C.
Yeah, I think C sounds good for me.
Yeah.
Next up is Kazandu Nectarpot. 1 and a green for a 1/3 insect with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life.
Interesting.
No, thank you.
So I mean, I think you're gonna play this in your kicker decks
Why?
because, well, I mean, your kicker decks are gonna want to play the Reclaim the Waste style cards, get multiple lands. They want to be ramping, and this is just like it blocks something most likely. Maybe not blocks everything, but it blocks something, and it'll gain you a few points throughout the course of the game. It's gonna be pretty annoying, I think.
Huh.
Like I'm more a fan of this than I am the 1/1 Death Touch.
That doesn't seem right to me, but I mean, you are better at evaluating cards than I am, so I'm like, this is a card that appeals to my sensibilities because it has like, it has a butt and it gains life, but in general, 2 mana 1/3s are just not good bodies and not relevant enough, and I also don't think like, yeah, sure, this comes out on turn 2 and it's gonna probably maybe. Well, the problem is like maybe it gains you 5 life throughout the course of the game, but that's in the scenario when like your opponent isn't doing anything, and like how much then theoretical life would a just a 2 mana 2/2 have quote unquote gained you if it could have actually traded off with like a 3/2 or something. I'm not sure this card gets there personally.
So you remember Grazing Gladeheart from original Zendikar? 3 mana gains 2 life whenever a land enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
That card was actually like a really solid card in that format, where it really stabilized you. You had a real tough time if you were the aggressive deck and you saw that card. Now I think this card is a little bit worse, but I think it plays a similar enough role. And yeah, like the elf coming down gains you virtual life by trading off with the 2-drop or whatever. But this will be able to block a decent amount of the 2-drops, number one, and that gains you a bunch of virtual life anyways. And this has the upside of when you draw it in the later part of the game, it's going to gain you that life. Like it'll start to stabilize you over the course of a few turns.
Okay. I'll defer to you here. What's your grade?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm not giving it too high of a grade. I think it's like C- in the abstract, and then in your kicker decks, like it's a solid role player C.
Yeah, I'm gonna go D+. I think I'm pretty unexcited about this card.
All right, and I think now is an interesting time to think about this. I don't know how much thought you've given to this, but what do you think about the overall speed of this format, and given like the mechanical incentives, the mechanical payoffs, and stuff like that?
I don't dare I say something stupid. I think I will just abstain from making it's just like hard for me. I have not read all the cards yet in the set. I think maybe you have, but I have not. It doesn't. I think the intersection of landfall, kicker, and the modal double face cards leads to some really interesting. Like the combination of all three of those things makes it very hard for me to know what's going to happen.
Right.
You think it's not going to be fast, right?
No, I think it is going to be fast.
Oh, you do?
I think it's going to be quite fast. I think that it's not going to be like blistering. It's not going to be M21 speeds, but I think it is going to be faster than average, given that all of the incentives, for the most part, are leaning towards snowbally kind of stuff and lead towards proactive stuff, almost like a Korea-ish, right?
Okay.
And there's not a ton of like catch-up mechanic cards as well. So I know, just my hypothesis as we go through this. That's kind of how I'm framing things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. What's the the next one here. We got
Might.
Might of Marasa. So we got 1 and a green for an instant. It has a kicker for 2 and a green. It says target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If the spell was kicked, that creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn instead.
That's it.
Yeah,
3 more mana and it only gets +2/+2 more. This is fine.
This card's gonna end a decent amount of games, I think, right? And while just being a solid utility card.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, against your green opponents, you sort of have to think about this card a lot. Like, I don't, so yeah, how many games is it actually going to end? I don't know, but how many combats is the just thought of it going to warp? Quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, this is, when you're talking about combat tricks, you basically divide them into average combat tricks and above average combat tricks, right? Like, and this is an average one, right? I don't think this is anything special, basically. Yeah. So you take a trick wherever you take a trick. Green combat trick's going to be worse than red and white combat trick, although, maybe in green, red, and green, white Landfall, that actually does have a home. So, I'm going to give this C-. It's you're going to want to trick some of the time, and you'll know when you want it.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Rabid Bite is back. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control.
Yeah, super solid card. This card has basically never been bad, and I don't think there's any real contextual factors that make this that much worse or better than it normally would be. There's a decent amount of Death Touch in black, and you have the 1/1 Death Touch here, so that's an interesting thing to think about. But this has always been just super solid card. I think I'm just going to give this a B-.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, next up, what do we got?
We got Broken Wings. This is 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying.
Sure, this is fine sideboard material, right?
Yeah, I don't get the vibe that this is really a main deck card. But, artifacts are more common than they normally would be, right? We have a bunch of equipment in the set.
Right, a bunch of colored artifacts.
Yeah, a bunch of colored artifacts. You also have this cycle of the tribal artifacts that are uncommon. It's a pretty powerful cycle. So, I don't think you're going to need to main deck this card unless you're really short on playables. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're going to get to that point. But yeah, super versatile card. I really like it.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, all right.
Rasa Brute is next here. 2 and a green for a 3/3 Troll Warrior with flavor text.
All right, so there is another warrior in green that's common. That's no, green is the one color that spreads it out. That's right.
It's tertiary for all, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I am known to hate me 3 mana 3/3. no text.
From when Hour of Devastation came out, and I thought what's it called was going to be like in the top 3 commons, and it ended up being like just about the worst green common, I think.
Yeah, Harrier Naga.
Harrier Naga, thank you. Yeah, 3 mana 3/3 just does not get the job done these days.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be fine. Like in your like green red Landfall decks that just want like a decent sized body, it's gonna be totally fine.
Sure.
But yeah, C-, D+ even.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say C-. It's totally replaceable. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Scale the Heights. So this is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. You gain 2 life. You may play an additional land this turn. Draw a card. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like this card.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of the few ways we have to get multiple lands in play. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. And so maybe this is like just a secret green-white gold card, perhaps. I don't think I'm just jamming this in any random green deck. Like, I want to make sure that I have landfall matter stuff.
You basically want to make sure that you get 2 landfall triggers off of this consistently, right? Because if you're just getting like a single landfall trigger off of it, it's pretty underwhelming. So you want to have like 9 landfall creatures or something.
Sure. I mean, I don't know how likely that is, but it is a main mechanic in the set, and this seems to enable that. Also, like, has a +1/+1. Like, the other stuff that it gets to do besides triggering landfall is quite good too. Like that some things are going to care about you gaining life, some things are going to care about a +1/+1 counter. I feel like all this adds up to a card that has good synergy in the format.
Yeah, it's weird because it does like so many small things. My gut tells me it's a bit too clunky though, but I'm willing to keep my eye on this card. Like, this is one of the cards that is kind of a bit of a question mark to me because you can look at this card, like this is the perfect example of a card you can look at and be like, oh, look at this synergy and this synergy and this synergy, but all that might not add up to being actual good in practice, right?
Right. And if the format is super fast, you probably don't have time for this.
Yeah, I'm going to start low on this, but I'm certainly willing to come up on it. I'm going to start this at a D+ myself.
I'm going to go Synergy C-, which is just about saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Next up is Tajuru Snarecaster, 2 and a green for a 1/4 elf rogue with reach.
I mean, okay blocker. 1/4 reach has historically been medium. It's a rogue. Got to point that out each time they have the creature types in there. I keep saying that I don't even know how much the green party cards are going to matter though, because you're so disincentivized from like playing green with party things. So
unless it's like 5-color party or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. So like this is fine. The problem is like it doesn't block a lot of the landfall creatures. Like here's the problem, right? This is your typical...
You can't like a 2-mana 1/3 and then be like, 3-mana 1/4 doesn't block well.
Well, the 1/3 also does additional things, right?
I get what additional things. How much does it matter that you're gaining 4 life over the course of the game? It doesn't.
I think it's a decent amount. I think it matters a decent amount.
I don't know.
All right, so this card.
Yeah.
This card, like, this is the classic card to me that says you'd think, it's not... You'd want it against the aggro decks. Also, this costs 3 mana, and that's a big step up.
Sure.
I think this is the card that you're like, oh yes, this is a good blocker against the aggro decks, but it might not be a good blocker against the aggro decks. And then when you do face a kicker deck or a late game deck, it's just horrible. Like you just don't want a 1/4, right? I'm not really high on this card. I'm gonna give it a D+.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Territorial Scythe Cat. This is 2 and a green for a cat, 2/1 trample with Landfall. And Landfall ability says, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Territorial Scythe Cat. This one's hard for me. I'm curious to hear what you think about this one.
I like this card quite a bit. I think this is good in theoretically every green deck. Like green blue kicker is gonna have lands. Green red wants to beat down. Green white is Landfall, and green black is +1/+1 counters. This just seems really good to me.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I agree. Like, it just seems, again, the intersection is there. That's really nice. One, like, it looks a little bit slow, right? Like, it attacks for 3 on 4, which is not below rate, but it doesn't block particularly well. The turn comes down if you're on the draw or something. If you can get, like, 2 landfall triggers out of this, like, the situations where you get some sort of blowout, like, instant speed, put a land into play, there's not too many things to do that, but, eat their thing and then continues to grow past that, that's really good.
Yeah, I think this is a C+.
It's tough for me. It screams C to me, and then like better in some decks than others. I think I'm gonna go C, but I respect the C+.
Okay. Canopy Baloth is next, 3 and a green for a 4/3 beast with landfall +2/+2 until end of turn.
It's big. It attacks for a decent amount, like 6/5 attacker. That's chonky.
That's chonky.
Yeah. I kind of like this card. I mean, it's a 4, of course, right? Like, you can't have too many of those.
Yeah.
It blocks the 2s for the most part of the turn it comes down. I don't know. It just seems probably a little too low powered to me. Like, not in the power as in 4 power, but just like in a set with a bunch of powerful synergies. I don't think, even in your landfall text, like, you want to stock up on the cheap landfall cards, not so much this. But it might just be like, really, really hard to block. So I don't know. I would say C on this one, but
yeah, I think I'm just really trying to take to heart. I think what the last few sets have shown me, which is just like 4 CMC or more. You just gotta pick and choose. And
yeah,
this is not anything special. I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. It does. There's gonna be some decks you face though that they're gonna have a real hard time against this, right? Just like their creatures just do not line up well.
Not me with my 1/1 death touches. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Gonna be fine.
Yeah, my 1/3 does not. Yeah.
What's next?
All right, we have Draga Visionaries. This is 3 and a green for an elf wizard. It is a 3/2, and it says when Draga Visionary enters the battlefield, you draw a card.
Solid.
Yeah, solid. Trades off most of the time, or can attack too.
There's gonna be this is interesting, I think, because I think like it feels like half decks are gonna want Visionary as their 4s, and half decks are gonna want Baloth as their 4s.
This is quite a good controlling card.
This is a very good blue green kicker. Loves this card. green black if it's a grindy deck loves this card.
I think having both these cards side by side, and this is what's so great about doing the CMC version of this, right? Like having both these cards side by side really illustrates like the macro archetypes. And I think both of these you could see them as Cs, and then in the respective decks, like you're like, ooh, I want that a little bit more than a C, right? Like slight gradient above, not quite C plus maybe, but yeah, a little bit more than a C. I think there's gonna be spots where you're like, ooh, that's a great pickup for me right here, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go C, but it's a C I'm happy to have.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next up we have. Oh, it's your turn. Would you like?
Yeah, Nissa's Zendikar, 3 and a green for an aura enchant land. Enchanted land is a 4/4 elemental creature with reach and haste. It's still a land, and when enchanted land dies, return that card to its owner's hand. You know, I didn't quite see the synergy that this had until Ben pointed it out with all the modal double face cards.
Right. Like yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, you put this on your tap land, then when that thing dies, you get it back, and then you can cast it as a spell if you want. So that's quite strong. This on its own, I think, is fine to bad.
Fine to bad. That's a good way to put it. It seems like even aside from that, the modal double face card stuff, it seems like there's a few tricksy things you can potentially do that we haven't quite seen just yet. Like I can't, nothing springs to mind right now, but I feel like this is the type of card that there's like weird little things you could do at some point with some cards. I think, yeah, I don't know, at its baseline,
this is a D+, I think.
Yeah, it's these cards play out worse than they look a lot of the time. It's a good top deck, right? Just attacking for 4, hasty. On curve, not as much. It's like a tapped 4/4.
Right, yeah, it's a 5 mana 4/4 with haste.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is actually not too bad. I'm gonna go C- on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of solid. It does enough.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Kazandu Stomper. So this is 6 mana.
No, we got Turn Timber Ascetic first.
Oh, Turn Timber Ascetic. That's right, I don't have that one here.
Yeah.
All right, Turn Timber Ascetic. So this is 5 mana for a 5/4. It says when Turn Timber Ascetic enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life.
And it's got types. It's a cleric.
Does it have types?
Yeah. Again, this is. I mean, so the cleric / life gain thing I think is kind of interesting because it has the type that black-white cares about and the thing that black-white is doing, which is cleric / life gain matters. So, but I don't know like how much is Abzan gonna be a thing, But like if we do end up with green-black splash or green-white splash or whatever, I don't know. I think this is like a 5 mana 5/4 plus 3 life. That's good.
It seems like I'm just again seeing these cards in CMC order. Like just imagine going either. Whatever one you'd like to take, either the Blade Blight or the Nectar Pot, whatever, whatever kind of gamer you are, going that into like some 3-drop into Draga Visionary into this, like that's you really gum up the ground and gain some life, draw some cards on that. Like, yeah, that's a hard start for an aggressive deck to punch through, right? So I think we're seeing here in a lot of the green commons just a real nice, beefy, meaty, gum up the ground kind of creatures here.
I mean, I think this is again just a C.
Yeah, of course. It's a 5, right? Yeah. You can't have too many 5s, but it's a solid C. Like, it's a solid 5.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and last comment here is Kazandu Stomper, 5 and a green for a 6/5 trample. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. What a cool... I think it's a cool card.
Yeah, I just think it's neat.
I just think this is nifty,
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I do really like the cards that let you pick up lands to like retrigger Landfall. I think that's good. But again, it's a 6 mana 6/5.
Right.
How high can we grade it?
Right. This has a lot of the Colossal Dreadmaw vibes in a way where it's just like you don't want too many of them, but like when it does hit the battlefield, it is a problem. Right?
And if it picks up modal double face cards, right?
Yeah, like putting aside the fact that it's a 6-drop, which is hard to put aside, I know, but like when this does come down, it's gonna feel pretty bad if your opponent is at all on the back foot and you pick up even one spell land from this, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, like
that's really good. And getting used to have this giant 6/5 trampler. Hard to give a 6-drop anything higher than like a C or C+ unless it's like absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is just like a nice solid C, and I can see it approaching C+ as like the card you want to your payoff card for your gumming up the ground strategy.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. And I think that the more MDFCs you have, the better this gets.
Right, and I think this is probably more of a kicker grind card than a landfall card. If I'm like, or an aggro landfall card, you know what I mean? Like
I
I
think
don't
that
think
makes
this is
sense.
like,
Yeah,
I don't think you want this at the top end of your aggro deck generally. I mean you can play it,
I
but
think you
I
play
think
it. Yeah,
yeah, I think it's more of a grindy card.
yeah, for sure. All right, what's our first uncommon here?
Yeah, so first uncommon here we have Skyclave Pickaxe. So this is a single green mana for an artifact equipment. It says when Skyclave Pickaxe enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control, and has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and the equip cost is 2 and a green.
So this is whatever Traveler's Satchel or whatever. What was it?
Adventuring Gear.
Adventuring Gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
That card was like sneaky good.
Yeah, it was.
But it was common. So, but it was the same effect, not like the auto equip stuff, etc. But the same effect of landfall +2/+2 until end of turn. This being an uncommon, perhaps is a clue that it's. I mean, there's a cycle of these, but perhaps this effect being an uncommon is a clue that it's also kind of powerful. I don't know. This card maybe is just a secret green white gold card, or it's good in green red beats too. But it seems kind of strong to me.
Yeah, this card's very powerful. Like as a magic card, this card is very powerful. In context, probably still also very powerful. Again, like you're gonna love this in green, red, and white green for sure. Just think it like it's almost like a 1 mana aura, which obviously the downside of the aura is that when the creature dies, that dies. The aura goes away, but being able to re-equip it is real nice. I think this is like solid C+, C, maybe even B-.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Let's go with the takes. Let's get our first B- going.
B-? Yeah, I like it.
Commons.
Yeah, super solid card. I'm impressed with this one.
All right, now we get to start talking about the MDFCs.
Oh,
so first
I've
up,
been waiting for this.
Vastwood Fortification is single green for an instant, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and of course the flip side is a ETB tapped green source.
Right. This is like the litmus test one, I think, right?
This is the one?
I think so, because it's like the lowest power level one, I think, for the most part. Maybe there's like a few lower ones, but this is close to the bottom, and it's like, how high are you willing to take this card whose spell side is not all that powerful, but there's so much inherent power in these modal double face cards? Like, let's just gush about these for a minute, because I think you and me are on the same page with these.
Well, but who isn't on the same? This is the thing. Is like
I've seen people.
Me, Ben, Ryan are all just like, these cards are insane. So
yes.
who's not thinking that these cards are insane?
I think just people who don't consume a bunch of content, perhaps. Right? I think if you look at this card and you're just looking at it for the first time, you haven't really thought critically about it. It looks very unimpressive.
So the point that Abram made on the last episode of Limited Level Ups, I thought was quite good. I hadn't like really put that.
Oh, don't tell me Abram made a good take. Don't.
I am loath to compliment Abram as well, but I will. I was like eating my breakfast, listening to the show, and I like just out loud by myself was like, that's a good point. He mentioned that the expensive ones are the better ones, right? Like, and you would sort of reiterate this and we're like, yes, like when you have split cards, you want them to be sort of as good in different scenarios as possible. So like,
right.
The land you want early in your opener, great. And then if you top deck it, you want it to be an impactful spell. This does not, qualify for either. But I still think this is like, I think the lowest I can grade these cards is a C+.
Yeah, I know exactly, right? Like there's you can't go. I do not think you can reasonably go lower.
Also, just like a 1 mana combat trick is a good card. So if you're putting this in your and the counter sticks around, I don't know, if you're putting this in your green white or green red aggro decks, I think these are going to be great. And then in your kicker decks, you're going to care about having lands, like, and just the times when you can just go like, oh, I was going to play this land post combat, but my opponent did this thing, and so now I get to use this as a trick to save my creature. Like, this card is good.
Like I said, I think most people are on board with these cards being very good. If you're maybe on the fence about these, like, it is hard to wrap your head around these cards, I think, because it's power in a different place that we're not used to, right? It's power not in the effect itself, but in the consistency you get from these cards. Like, just think about how good the cycling lands were in Amonkhet, Hour of Gestation. Think about how good cycling is in Ikoria. Like, it's that, but almost hypercharged, right? Like, because you don't have to spend the mana to get the spell side if you want, right? So. And you know what? Also, I was talking about the +1/+1 counter synergies. This also just puts a counter on something, right?
Yeah.
C+?
I'm going C+, yeah.
Yeah, let's. I love it.
All right. Another one
All right.
here.
Yeah, we got Tangled Florahedron. So this is 1 and a green for a elemental. It's a 1/1. It taps to add green, so it's just 2 mana dork, and then the backside is a land.
Yeah, again, this seems like on the low end of the spectrum, just because it's very hard for me to imagine the times when I'm not just casting this. Like, when it's in my opener, I'm always casting it. But I guess it's like the times when it's in my opener and I only have one other land, and then I get to just go,
exactly.
Great, I just play this as a tapped land on turn 1.
And
then
yeah.
And then it's worse when you top deck it, but still, like, hopefully you have some landfall synergies, or something that you get use out of it. But I'm still this I still think is a C+. Maybe it's even a B-.
I'd probably put this one at probably B-. Just because it's powerful in the front end and then a land on the backside. Just and worth noting, because we didn't note this, but like also you're replacing your lands with this. Right? This is not going to be a spell most of the time, right? And I mean that's a question that's interesting going in. Like, how often are you swapping out a land for these cards? But I think for the last one for sure, the one that puts a counter on something, that's just going to be you're taking out a forest for that.
That's just a
right?
land, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just a land, right? Don't think of these as spells with lands on the backside, although sometimes you will think of them in your deck construction, but mostly think of these as lands that have spells on them.
Yeah. Vine Gecko is next. 1 and a green for a 2/2 elemental lizard. The first kicked spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vine Gecko.
I love the implication that you're casting multiple kicked spells.
Well, with this cost reduction, of course.
Yeah, you might. Yeah. Well, this is very powerful, right? This is a very scary 2-drop. On both sides, right? Just like being able to get the cost reduction and it growing over time. Like, you're not going to have a ton of kicker cards in your deck, but even getting like the cost reduction, making one of your 6 mana ones cost 5, one of your 5 mana ones cost 4. That's very, very good. Plus, this grows. This is just a B in my books.
I think it's a build around B, but I do think it's a build a B.
Right. And I think I made this comparison on Unlimited Level Ups this week, but I think that the way I'm thinking of this set is kind of Ikoria, like, where we've got the macro archetypes where there's not a ton of crossover within between the big archetypes, Landfall, Party, and Kicker. There are some, but not a ton. So like when you see a card like this, think of Flourishing Fox, right? Like, what would you end up giving Flourishing Fox in Ikoria at the end of the set? B+, right? So like, you could call that a build around, but I think that in the deck that wants Flourishing Fox, which is the only time you're going to play it, it's a B+. And I think the same goes for Vine Gecko.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to get into the weeds with you about
of course
that stuff, but yeah, I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm not just gonna say B in the vacuum.
Which is like,
you gotta have some cards. Yeah.
But I think I'm excited about this card, and I think the blue-green kicker deck looks really good.
Oh yeah, me too. I think so too. All right, next up we have Balagad Recovery. So this is 2 and a green for a sorcery. It's just straight up regrowth. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand, and of course tap the green.
Now this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like, in your opener, this is a forest, and when you top deck this, it's the best card in your graveyard. Like, I love this card. I think it's a B.
Yeah, I think this card's quite good. This is exactly what you're talking about, right? Like, as opposed to the Florahedron or the Fortification, this one is good at either end of the spectrum of the game, right? Great. I agree with B on this one.
Yeah. Colony Ambush. It's great. Green gets 4 of these at uncommon.
Yeah, wild.
Every other color gets 3. Or no, maybe it is 4 for each. 4 and then 2 rare mythic. Anyway, this is Colony Ambush. 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control, and it's of course a tapped green source on the other side.
So, question is, this or Rabid Bite? And I think it's this.
This,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
This is a land. It's
yeah.
This is great. And this is another B, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. These cards are great. We're gonna be singing their praises all set review long.
I guess I'm just like so excited. Maybe I don't know when maybe everybody catches on, but for whatever lag period there is, where the people who aren't watching the reviews and listening to the podcasts and whatever, like, because I can't imagine any content creator being like, well, these cards are fine.
Yeah, I think so, exactly. Yeah, nobody's like gonna be like, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think that that first week there's gonna be a lot of like, they don't know, and it's gonna feel good when you're in the know.
Yeah.
All right. Next up here we have Marasa Sproutling. So this is 2 and a green for a 3/3. It's a plant elemental as kicker for 2 mana. And when you kick this card, return target card with a kicker ability from your graveyard to your hand. Sweet.
This is sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, this is much better than the other 3-mana 3/3 we saw.
Right. Yeah, I'm much more excited to be like, look, I'm fine to put this in my deck and play this as a 3-mana 3/3 when I need it. But when I get to, can you, like, what do you get to do? You go into the Royal, kicked on 4, and then turn 5, get back into the Royal?
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah,
that's really nice.
And yeah, it feels like, we said this a second ago, but it just feels like the kicker deck has a lot of support, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I'm excited to draft.
Oh, I didn't even think about these as just like grave diggers for each other if you get 2 of them.
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
That's
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you need to give this a build around grade, or is this is just like a B-, right?
I think even in your, like, your green white landfall decks, I think you're going to have some amount of kicker, getting back some cards, and in those green white landfall decks, you're okay with the baseline of 3-mana 3/3, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what I think. So
like B-?
I'm going B-, I think.
Okay, yeah, I like it. All right, and
I think
I'll do it. Next up, we have Roiling Regrowth, and we have it's 2 and a green for an instant at uncommon. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and suffer your library. So, Harrow, basically.
Harrow, but they come into play tapped.
Yeah. Really powerful. This is a great card.
This card is going to lead to some blowouts. Can you imagine this with Canyon Jerboa? I feel like every landfall card, I'm like, imagine this with Canyon Jerboa, but like, this is insane if you have like landfall stuff at instant speed.
Right, and it's also a really nice intersection card where you're going to want this in your kicker deck as well, just to ramp and get multiple colors of note. You don't have to get the same color of land.
This is pretty good support too. For like, we keep talking about this like that. I mean, I think the fixing is only at green, but green does have some fixing here to do multicolor party.
Oh yeah. This one's powerful. I think I want to give it a B- probably. Just on power and on how good it is in multiple decks.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you will play this even when you're not splashing. You're playing this in green-white, you're playing this in green-blue. Yeah.
Like, it's just a combat trick when you're in Landfall as well. Like,
that's crazy.
It's quite good.
Yeah, that's very good. All right, sweet. Next up is Taunting Arbor Mage, 2 and a green for a 2/3 with Kicker 3. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. Now, talk about cards that are going to end some games. Like, this is going to feel really bad. Like, you're just going to be like, I've stabilized, I'm good, and then your opponent plays this card.
Even just, like, targeted Death Toucher or something. Like,
a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch?
No, maybe something like that.
Maybe something like that?
Along those lines. 2-power Death Toucher would be amazing if there's one of those. I think there is. It's a little weird, like, no, it's not even that weird. Like, I was gonna say there's a little tension between, like, this wanting to be kind of aggressive card, but no, this is still just a good
but
card.
Just the fact that, like, it's like 6 mana, win the game, or do something nutty, or 3 mana 2/3.
Right.
Like, that's a very good split card.
And the fact that, we were talking about before, a lot of the green commons that we've seen do focus on, gumming up the ground, kind of board stalling-ish, right? So this is great in that situation, right? Yeah. I do like this.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention good types.
Good types. Yeah, we got a wizard.
I think B- here. B?
Yeah, I'm willing to give this a B-. It feels like, it almost feels like C+-ish. Like, we were saying a bunch of good things about it, but I don't think it's, like, quite in the B territory. I think C+. You
want to go C+? All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go C+. All right, next up we have Vastwood Surge. So this is 3 and a green for a sorcery. It has Kicker for 4 mana. It says, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Okay.
So this feels like, if it's good, it's only good in the kicker deck, in my mind, because I think that's the deck that that can get to 8 mana for this. I don't know if your green-white landfall deck cares about this that much. I don't know. This card seems a little clunky to me. I think it's basically, in my mind, it's just a blue-green kicker card, because that's the deck that cares about doing this for 4 mana and also can get to the 8 mana otherwise without having to have cast this already.
Right, yeah. In your kicker deck, it's a finisher / ramp spell, which is powerful. Like that's a nice bit of modality. If we're talking about cards that are good in one part of the game and the other part of the game,
Yeah.
That's quite nice. I guess, yeah. The question for me is, how good is this in your landfall deck? And I think that's like yet to be seen. Like, I don't think there's like one or two aggressive 2-drop landfall creatures, and they're uncommon. So it's not often you're going to go like 2-drop, 3-drop into this, get like, a big boost. And even then that's like, not,
I just don't even think, I don't think your landfall decks want to take turn 4 off like
no,
this.
I agree.
My feeling, I want to go like Synergy C, basically thinking about it as a blue-green card.
Yeah, I think so. And this is when you're getting to those splish splashy decks. And I do think going through these cards,
sure. But again, a synergy card there.
Right, yeah. I do think going through these cards, there is that base green party deck that probably will exist. So that's just another place for this. So yeah, I agree with you, Reed. I like that.
Yeah. I don't like this card. Iridescent Hornbeetle. 4 and a green for a 3/4 insect. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each +1/+1 counter you've put on creatures under your control this turn.
Yeah, what do you think about this one?
I think this is a really good build around for +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, this gets out of control pretty quickly, right?
I mean, we talked about this on the podcast, but like the black-green uncommon like has kicker, it gets 3 +1/+1 counters. Whatever, like this into even just the common. You kick that, you get a 5-mana 4/4 trample with 2 1/1s. Like, I think this is a really good build around.
Yeah, maybe this is dreaming a bit big, but there's also like the black uncommon that cares about counters. That says, it's sacrifice a creature, put a counter on the card, and so you can really just go off with that. You put a counter on it, you make a thing, you sack the thing, you really go off. So yeah, I mean, this is scary when it comes down on turn 5. Like, you're gonna want to kill this when your opponent plays this on turn 5.
Yeah.
I think it's still, as a 5-drop, it's a little, but I'm gonna go C+ on this one.
I'm gonna go build around
B-.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Because I'm not taking this. I'm not just like you. I think you have to give this card a build around grade because you're not just playing this in any deck. But this is the kind of card that I see pack one, pick one, and I go, all right, this is a reason to go into green-black counters.
Right, yeah, I agree with that. And it, coming down as a 4 toughness creature for 5 mana, it's a little bit rough because like a lot of times you want your like payoff cards to come down and block. But yeah, I think I'm on board with this card being quite good. I agree.
Yep.
All right. Next up we have Spring Mantle Cleric. So this is 5 mana, 4 and a green for a elf cleric. It is a 2/3. But it says Spring Mantle Cleric enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it.
Weird card. So like it's gonna be a 5 mana 4/5.
Yeah.
At its floor. But like, how much better is it when it's a 5/6? Like, I don't really care that much.
Not that much.
If this were just a 5 mana 5/6, I still think I'd be like, okay, fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dorky vanilla creature that you have to work a little bit to get a slightly less dorky vanilla creature out of, right? Like, I don't know, it's fine. It's like a C-, C. I'd say C-. This is not impressive. This is a 5-drop and it's not impressive.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Last up here is Veteran Adventurer, 5 and a green for a 5/5 human. It's also a cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, person, woman, man, camera, TV, whatever. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party and has vigilance.
So, I don't know if your opinions change on this, but you guys sounded a little bit down on this card on the podcast. I like this card, though.
I was down, and then Ben was like, what if it's like a 4 mana 5/5 vigilance? And I was like, well, all right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, right, yeah. I think even, like, 5 mana is not bad. Like, Vigilant Bailoff is a card we've seen, and not that that's like an amazing card, but
it's not an amazing card.
No, it's not. But it does count, it being all the creature types might matter. Probably not that often, but it might. I think still, like, C. Probably C+, potentially.
You guys sounded down on this. I'm giving it a C. Like,
yeah,
this card is like just. So the problem is that this is like top end, and so what if with it being top end, and then it's like, well, but it counts towards your party however you want. But it's like, yeah, but then I'm done. I'm already having a party.
Yep.
and the guy is late, So I don't know. And right, if this has trample, I'm much more excited. Vigilance, I'm just sort of like, yeah, Vigilant Baloth was good in a core set.
Right, yeah, exactly. And of note, since this is the first type of card that we've seen like this, where it's cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, this only counts for one in your party. This does not count for your whole party, just in case anybody was unclear on that. So, yeah, I mean,
I think this is a C.
Sure, yeah, I don't think you're going to take it too high. I think you're going to take it a little bit higher than a C, but it's just like just a nudge above. It doesn't quite get a C plus.
It's hard to know, like, if this multicolor green-based party deck is good. This card is great.
I think. Very good. You know what?
Because it has the potential to just be like, sometimes it could just be a 3 or a 2 mana 4/5/5 vigilance.
I think I'm gonna go higher on this one now that I think about it a little more, because the turns you do cast it for 2 mana and then cast something else, like that's very good, or 3 mana even, right? It doesn't have to be 2.
When you in double spell with this, it's crazy.
I'm gonna go higher on this because there is
C plus?
a lot of potential. Yeah, I like C plus on this one.
So I think perhaps this is probably not a hot take. I think this multicolor green deck is going to be good.
We've got one of the prerequisites, I think, for multicolor green decks being good is an Open the Gates style card, right? Leia's Land, and we have that. I think of all the sets, maybe aside from Hour of Devastation, which had an abundance of fixing, Kaladesh, 5-color gates and Ravnica Allegiance, those were based in the Open the Gates style card, the Leia's Land,
right?
And I think because of that enables that, and I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's right. Let's check out these rares. First up is Swarm Shambler. Single green for a 0/0. It enters the battlefield with a single +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell, and opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. 1 tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Swarm Shambler.
Yeah, Chronometon is back, baby. This is that's a good one.
Yeah,
this is sweet. Yeah, so we've seen similar hurts to this before, here and there, but just being able to come down early or fit it into any part of your curve, and then anytime you have a mana, just pump a counter on it. Quite good. This triggers your whenever you put a counter on something type cards every turn. I think this is super solid. I think it's a B, could even be a B plus in the right deck though.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go B- on it, but I think definitely a pull into green.
Yeah.
Inscription of Abundance is 1 in a green for an instant. Kicker 2 in a green. You choose 1. If the spell is kicked, you choose any number instead. So we've got put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control, and target creature you control fights target creature you don't control.
Yeah, there's a nice little bit of flexibility. This is great. Yeah, this is very, very good.
Yeah.
Kicking it is cheap too. It is not expensive to kick this card. 5 mana, grow your creature, fight something. Yeah, this is really, really good.
Well, there's also the magical Christmas blowout potential is the 2 counters go on something that's in combat, and then something else fights something to kill something else.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was an instant for a second. Wow, that's really, really good.
This card
is this is a blowout.
This is a blowout.
This is a blowout in multiple ways. Yeah, I kind of want to go A-, but
yeah, I'm just going B+, I think, because
it's not.
This does require a little bit of setup, but you do need creatures in play.
Yeah, the joke, creatures unlimited. That's pretty hard, but I mean,
I have a hard time with it.
So this gives me Primal Might vibes from M21, and that card was a range. I think Primal Might's a little bit better than this card, just the flexibility of it. It's a little bit more modular. But yeah, I think B+ on this one. This one's great.
Yeah.
All right,
He's
next
back.
up here, Lotus Cobra. It's back at rare this time, an uncontroversial rarity. So this is 1 in a green for a 2/1 snake, and it has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, add a mana of any color.
This is much better in constructed with fetch lands than it is in limited without fetch lands.
It's a nice little fixer still.
Yeah, this is and it ramps. This is probably a B-, I think. Still a pull into green for me.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be pick on pack one-ing this out of very many packs, right? I would lean C+ still, I think.
Yeah, you're taking top commons over this.
Yeah, I think so. It does, the turn you cast, a ramp spell, you often get to cast another spell.
Yeah.
This is super solid. Nothing special though. I don't think.
Okay. Tajuru Paragon is 1 and a green for a 3/2. This is another one of those. It's all 4 party types. As kicker 3, when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a card that shares a creature type with it from among them into your hand and put the rest on the bottom in random order. 2 mana 3/2/5 mana 3/2. Draw a card. Draw a creature.
Yeah, I mean, if your deck is constructed in a way to take advantage of this, you're hitting a card most of the time. Like 6 is a lot, right?
6 is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, plus any way to like rebuy this, bounce it, get it back from the grave. It's just a nice little value engine. Yeah, I like this a lot. It's like a very solid B.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I like the rares that are just, we have a lot of simple rares here. Nothing too complex.
Just good. Good, clean 2-for-1s.
Yeah, exactly. And next up we have Kazandu Mammoth. So this is 1 green, 3 mana for an elephant. It is a 3/3 and has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battle under your control, Kazandu Mammoth gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And ta-da! It is a land on the backside. Tapped green source.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is all. I mean, the front side alone, that's a lot, right? Just attacking for 5 on turn 4. That's powerful.
Right. So this is one where you're not counting it as a land in your deck. Like, you're hoping to cast this as a creature. But then again, just the times when your opener is this and another land, you're like, cool, just play it as a land.
Yeah, and I think going forward, that's the interesting thing to note, right? Like dividing these spells into which ones you're gonna count, want to cast most of the time, which ones you're gonna want to play as land most of the times, and then like the ones in the middle, you're like, I could take either one, right? So I think just like compartmentalizing those as we go forward is gonna be interesting. And yeah, totally agree. This is one that you're gonna want to cast on turn 3 as much as you can.
B plus.
Yeah, I like B plus in this.
Yeah. Orin Reef Ooze is 2 and a green for a 2/2 ooze. When it ETBs, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Each. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So tax is a 4/4 by itself, and then any other help it can get from any other counter synergies, really, really nice. If you grow 2 things with this, you're kind of doing it, right? Like you're really putting on the pressure. That being said, it's still like not the most impactful card in the world. It's powerful, but it's not like, it's not like I think this is worse than most of the rares we've seen so far, right? I would probably just give this like a B minus.
Yeah, I think B minus seems fair to me. B minus C plus.
Yeah, there's gonna be games where you're on the play with this, and you go to like 2-drop into this, and your opponent's on the back foot a little bit, and it's just gonna run away with the game, right? So that's a lot of power in that department, but overall I think it's just like solid card. All right, next up we have Scoot Swarm. Scoot Swarm. Scoot and a green for an insect. It is a 1/1 with a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. But if you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. Ooh, baby. I guess
so. So if you have 6 lands.
You make a 1/1, but it's this.
Which means that then next turn you make 2 Scoot Swarms. The following turn you make 4.
Yeah, and then just snowballs from there. Which, mind you, it's 6 mana, right? And to get a bunch of 1/1.
For a 3 mana 1/1?
Well, I mean, like 3 mana 1/1, landfall make a 1/1 each. That's very good, just on the baseline, right? Like that's just a nice token maker.
Yeah.
Your opponent's going to reach out and kill this when they can.
Yes, but it's going to be very easy for them to kill it.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's obviously quite... I'm just trying to figure out when you play this.
I think you're just jamming this on 3. When you
If this format is aggressive, doesn't this card suck?
I don't think so, because then you're just each land you play is just a incremental value.
You're taking turn 3 off.
Mm-hmm. But then you get a rebate.
Then every
on
turn
that.
you get a 1/1 for a land.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. How good? What grade do you give this?
Like probably around the same as the Orange Reef, like a B minus.
B minus? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in for B minus. Ashaya Soul of the Wild is up next. 3 green for a star. This is a mythic elemental. Oof. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types.
This card is wild. This card, ooh man. So let's imagine you go like 2-drop, 3-drop. I don't know. You skip your 4. Let's say you play this.
It's a 7/7.
It's a 7/7, and your creatures also tap for mana, so you can double spell a lot of the time you play this.
That's wild. Oh, and creatures trigger landfall?
And creature trigger landfall, yeah.
What? That's insane.
This is a busted card. Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is. I'm sold on A on this one. Could be A minus. Like it is just like beefy stats, a little bit of cutesy stuff. But I think, yeah, I'd go A minus. I'd go A minus.
Oh yeah, it counts itself, so it's an 8/8 in the scenario.
Right.
Not a 7/7. Yeah.
It is massive, and it has other cute things. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Ooh.
All right, next up we have Crag. Oh, we got the Ancient Green Warden. So this is 4 green for a 5/7 reach. It says you may play land cards from your graveyard, and if a land entering the battlefield would trigger an ability, it triggers twice instead.
Okay, so the modal double face cards are only lands when you play them as tapped lands. In every other zone, they're the spell side.
Correct.
So that does not work with Ancient Green Warden.
No.
It
It doubles your landfall.
doubles your landfall, but I'm not sure. This seems fine to me. Not great.
Yeah, it's fairly medium. I mean, yeah, it's a good body. Sure.
I love me a big spider.
Yeah, it's a big old spider. How often are lands going to your graveyard in this set? Not often, right? Like,
Yeah, not often.
it's not much, I don't think. I mean, there's like some incidental stuff, I suppose. You might get some value off of it, but yeah, this is fine.
Wait, what?
No.
You can play modal double face cards from the graveyard as lands?
Oh, yeah. I think, did we say otherwise?
I said you
ago?
couldn't. Ancient Green Warden
sorry,
allows you to play as the card's land face, but not a land. Oh,
okay.
Okay. You cannot play the spell side, but you can play
the land side. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
that makes this much better.
Interesting. It does. Okay, so lands do go to the grave, but even still, that's not like super impressive. It's flavor text. I mean, trinket text.
Oof, that Twitch chat saved a flurry of YouTube comments.
C plus, B minus, B minus.
I go B minus, yeah.
Yeah, it's giant. It stabilized the board really, really well.
Okay, Crag Plate Baloth is next. 5 green for a 6/6 beast. Can't be countered. Hexproof haste. Keyword soup. As kicker 2 and a green, if it was kicked, it enters the battlefield as a 10/10 with 4+1/+1 counters on it. That's disgusting.
It's fine. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't have trample.
Yeah, not trampling is like it's 7 mana. Hexproof. It comes in for a lot. You really want to ramp into this card somehow. I think it's okay.
So maybe just a kicker card, like a blue-green gold card.
Yeah, it's not really like you might put it in your more mid-rangey green-red landfall decks. I think it's like a C plus probably.
Yeah, I mean 7 mana 6/6 is expensive.
Yeah. I think it's good, but it's not doesn't scream out to me as super.
I guess
powerful.
are you taking this, or are you taking the 6 mana 6/5 trample that picks up 2 lands?
That's a great question. probably this. Yeah, I think probably this.
Hexproof haste is still quite good.
Yeah, it's still quite good.
Yeah. Okay. Last up.
Also, chat's talking about 7 drops. I do think this is important to note. I think expensive cards are going to be pretty, they're going to have a high bar for entry, right? With these modal double face cards and kicker, like it's kind of like the whole morph thing almost, where you have something to do with your mana late and early on a lot of your cards. So like a card that just costs 7, no early mode is going to be tough, right?
Yeah. Good point.
All right, next up we have Turntimber Symbiosis. So this is the first of a cycle we have. So this is one of the lands again. So this is 4 green. This is a mythic sorcery, and it says look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that card has converted mana cost 3 or less, it enters with 3 additional +1/+1 counters on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yes, this is a land. So,
yeah.
How?
Also, sorry, I didn't mention the backside. It can come in untapped if you pay 3 life.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what did we see? We saw I'm trying to think. This was in maybe 2 2 core sets ago, Vivian's Invocation. It was
Right,
like,
yeah.
It was like 7 mana instant, I think. You found it, you like looked at the top 7, found a creature, it came into play, and then it could fight something if you wanted.
Yeah.
I just generally don't like that gave you the potential of 2 for 1ing. This just makes it huge. I just don't like these kinds of effects. Personally.
I mean, being on a land is a lot. Like, that makes it a lot better, right?
Right. I think you're playing this as a land most of the time. Like, this would be something I would put in my deck and count as a land. And then be like, oh, when I top deck it, cool.
Yeah, or when you're on 6 mana, you're just gonna hold it most likely, right? Like that kind of thing. Again, still like.
But so is this like this is one of the worst ones and it's still a C plus, or is this like a I'm taking this? Because I'm on sort of C plus with this in my mind.
Yeah, this is really where it breaks down, because it's like, do you take this over? Okay, well, first of all, do you take this over all of the uncommons that we've seen? Like do you take this over the +1/+1 counter one?
I take it over the. I don't think I take this over the. Do I take this over the regrowth? This is just, I guess, very similar to the regrowth one. Maybe it's better than all the uncommons.
I think it's better than all the uncommons. Yeah,
So
I think this one's.
So then it's a B plus. Then it's a B or a B plus.
Well, like, you have gradients of Bs, right?
Sure.
I think it still looks like a B.
Yeah. Okay. I'm in for B.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, that's green. I think we did it. I think we did not underrate.
Maybe we overrated.
Maybe we overrated.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for green.